what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy it. Let's dive in, though, to what I think is the biggest local story of the day, and that is the fact that former LSU strength coach Tommy Moffitt is heading to College Station to join the Texas A&M Aggies, a massive hire by Mike Elko, right? Like we already told you that we thought Mike Elko was a good coach, was likely the best option for Texas A&M when you weighed everything on balance. And I would say that in terms of early returns, I know it's been rough for A&M fans the last couple of days. They've had a ton of transfers, Jake. They've had a ton of decommitments. But this is a great hire, in my opinion. And to be fair, I'm biased in this conversation. I've said it a ton of times on air. I think Tommy Moffitt is the best coach that I ever played for or worked for, whatever. He helped to develop me physically and mentally in ways that I never would have thought possible or done so on my own. And I've said it a million times before as well. This man was the X factor behind the LSU Golden Age. Like, why was LSU churning out so much NFL talent when the on-field results weren't matching up? Because he could develop you. Some of the staff just didn't necessarily know how to use those pieces on Saturdays. What's the common denominator between Nick Saban, Les Miles, and Ed Orgeron? They all won national championships. They all had Tommy Moffitt as their strength coach. He's a multi-time national strength coach of the year. For about 2 decades there, he was the guy that you went, like the Buddha, that you went and studied at his feet. If you look at Scott Cochran's success, it's not to take away from Cochran because we all, look further by staying on the giants of those who came before us, but he is firmly a Moffett clone, maybe with his own little twists and spins, right? So yes, no, this is a man who's been at the forefront of his industry for decades, and now this is a man who knows how to develop great high school talent, who knows how to get the most out of players, to create toughness, and now he's going to a place at Texas A&M that sounds like exactly what they need. Again, maybe I'm blind in this conversation because of my bias, but I think this is a great hire for Texas A&M, and this worries me as an LSU fan.
Yeah, I think anybody who listens to this show probably knows how we feel about Coach Moffett, what he's done for us, and what I think he can do still for Texas A&M. It's funny, we were out yesterday, and I said, crap. And Kay's like, what? I said, Coach Moffitt's going back to coaching, and guess where she goes? A&M?
Yeah, I know.
It's like she didn't even have to, like she knew it was Texas A&M, probably by the way that I said it. It does hurt. This is somebody like T-Bob said. I mean, he molded me from the very get-go. When I got on campus, I was playing running back and receiver at Evangel, and I was supposed to play fullback in the SEC. I was like 205, and I had to get to 230 at least by the time that we got to fall camp. And he did it, and he did it in a way that was not difficult for me and, really got my career started. I was able to play as a true freshman because of Coach Moffett and working with me and making sure that I was doing the right things that I had to do to be able to be big enough to play fullback in the SEC. And then, of course, it continued on throughout my career. So, yeah, it does. So, yes, it hurts. It hurts to see him go to Texas A&M, but also I am incredibly happy if Coach Moffett did want to get back into coaching that he was able to find a landing spot like a Texas A&M in the SEC because he deserves – like nothing less than the SEC.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, agreed, right? Because obviously the man still did want to coach, and him being shuttled to like a Vanderbilt or something would have been a high crime. And so him going to a school with the potential of A&M is intimidating, but I'm happy on a personal level for, again, one of my favorite coaches and mentors and leaders that I've ever known. But it is intimidating because, again, I think he's really good where Texas A&M has been bad. Development of talent, toughness, discipline. These are 3 things that he has made a legendary career on, and 3 things that A&M in the Jimbo Fisher era struggled pretty legendarily with. And so Mike Elko, credit to him, this seems like a really shrewd hire. And I know many of you who will want to, decry this hire because I would like to believe this as well, that Texas A&M won't be very good. You'll point to 2020 and 2021, right? And be like, oh, well, look, he obviously lost his touch, and that's why Brian Kelly chose not to choose him, and yada, yada, yada. And look, you were under 500 over 2 years. Well, what about 2019, where he was strength coach of the year again and won another national championship? And if you're talking about 20 and 21, in my opinion, it is not, strength and conditioning was not the core root of the problem. And although these conversations are always biased as everybody looks out for their own legacy and trying to say, well, this is what really happened. I've heard whispers and rumors that, because, one of the big complaints became like these guys are overworked or these guys are this and that maybe coach wasn't always getting full say over things like the schedule and what the goals are. I mean, at the end of the day, the head coach is the boss, right? You have to do what they say. So, like, I remember back in the early Saban era, Moffett telling the story about how Saban basically told him, look, like, you're going to make these guys hate you so that even though they like me, or even though, like, I'm, like, a hard guy as well and a display, all this sort of stuff, like, they're going to like me because you're going to be so intense that they're going to kind of dread you or hate you. Like, you have to do what the head coach says, right? And so I guess what I'm getting at, and I'm being kind of roundabout and beating about the bush, is just that I don't think 20 and 21 were Tom Moffitt's fault. And what I fear is that if he ends up being successful, and if A&M beats LSU, what you're going to think back on is that video of him packing up in the rain, which was disgraceful and wholly unbecoming of of a man of his caliber. And to me, that's a criticism of Scott Woodward, Brian Kelly. It's a criticism of all the decision makers at LSU that after 2 decades, you decide to fire the X factor behind 3 national championships in your golden era of football, and you don't give this man a more graceful exit than packing up his own office in the rain. Pathetic. And make no mistake, Tommy Moffitt wanted to be here at LSU. He wanted to be the strength coach for Brian Kelly. He pitched Brian Kelly, laid out his game plan, and got rejected, and then again got fired in the rain. Like, we'll talk about Bill Belichick being fired in New England a bit later today, as there's a lot of smoke in the street. That may be the case, but they're not going to fire him, right? Or at least they'll try every avenue they can to find some sort of amicable exit, trade, whatever the case may be, so that he exits gracefully, as he should, given what he gave to that program. And I just thought that how LSU handled Moffett back in the day was ridiculous. And, now you have a motivated legend who wants revenge and is in College Station, where if nothing else, he will have unlimited resources and a ton of talent to work with. And then we'll see. We'll see if he still got it or not. I think he does, and I think it's a great hire by Mike Elko.
I wonder where their relationship, or if they had any kind of relationship, because I'm looking at Mike Elko's bio, and obviously, like, Coach Moffett being at LSU for so long, it's like, well, maybe Tennessee, maybe Miami back in the day, but no, nothing as far as coaching together. So this came, somebody recommended Coach Moffett, or maybe Mike Elko knew him from afar, and so I wonder how that kind of all came together. Or Mike Elko, was in the SEC when he was at Texas A&M and going against maybe some of those LSU teams.
Yeah.
I mean, that certainly could have been something.
The thing is, he's a legend. And if you really, like, let's really look. Let's really dissect it then, the timeline here. He's a legend who, granted, the more shocking thing is not that he's been hired now, it's why did it take this long? He just led a national championship program in 2019 that turned out a record number of draft picks. Where was the real fall off? Okay, in 2020 and 2021, you're going to tell me that the strength and conditioning coach was the main reason why LSU fell in those 2 years? No, it's absurd. And so here you have someone who was still at the top of his game just a few short years ago, but then was ungracefully shuttled away when a new regime came in. And for some reason, this diamond was kind of thrown to the side and forgotten about. And that's why I credit Mike Elko for being a good coach, because he was like, oh, wait a second. Tommy Moffitt's still out there? Well, what are we doing? Go get that man. I don't need to take a risk on some young guy. I don't need to take a risk on, like, I can go get a legend and go get Pompey, an experienced old graybeard who's in incredible shape and as motivated as ever to dominate. And I say graybeard with love. I told you that I just read the Philip and Alexander book by Adrian Goldsworthy, and that's what really separated that Macedonian army, where they just had salty-ass vets, Jake. Old-ass warriors who had seen everything that you could throw at them, and so they were intimidated by nothing. And Tommy Moffitt has seen everything that this game can throw at you and is intimidated by nothing. So, I don't know, man. Maybe y'all are right. Maybe coach, the game done passed coach by, but I ain't betting on that. And I would be very wary about thinking that's the case as well, from what I know about this man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you, and I know everyone in the chat saying that, you know, we're too close to this. We have too much of a personal relationship.
That's fine.
You know, yeah, I can just, you know, tell you my experience, and I can also tell you the experience I saw not that long ago.
Yeah.
Again, 2019 National Strength Coach of the Year. That ain't that long ago, and so I'm not going to sit here and say that it's passed up somebody that's done as much as Coach Moffett has done, and we certainly will see. He's going to be in the league. You will see him every single year.
Yeah, we gonna see if the game's done passed him by. You better hope you're right. You better hope you're right. Because again, I feel this in, you know, down to the roots of my core, my DNA, that man was the X factor behind LSU. Now, obviously, you have to have Nick Saban to reignite the engine, right? But how, and Les Miles did great thing in recruiting. He hired assistants well. You know, granted, game day, he struggled somewhat, but he found a way to championships and to competing for multiple championships. Ed Ogeron had a consistent, steady climb that was as impressive as anything until it blew up, but none of it works without Coach Moffett constantly behind the scenes, developing, preparing, mentally, physically, getting guys ready for Saturday and for Sunday. Why were you not finishing first in all these recruiting classes, but then still putting more guys in the NFL than any other school? Why? How does that happen? And putting more guys in the NFL than any other school when other schools are doing better than you on Saturday. Why? How does that happen? Because your strength coach knows what he's doing. So, again, like if you're saying he fell off, so if you're blaming him for the fall off post 2019, sure, that's fine, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case, and I think this is a great hire for Texas A&M, and well, I think those A&M players are in for a bit of a rude awakening.
I don't know who was there before, but I can promise you, when they get back, from bowl practice, they're gonna be a little. Actually, that he might actually work them out for bowl practice, but once they get back from bowl practice and they start the fourth quarter program, get your mind right.
Well, and the dangerous part about Coach Moffett is he's not a lot of people, because this is what you dealt with in high school, right? Or this is what you dealt with maybe even in college. But a lot of people think about strength coaches just being these 24/7 meathead, rah, rah, you know, almost like just just do it, you know, like cavemen types. But people always, you know, with the most dangerous weapon a warrior has is what, your brain. That's where Moffett becomes dangerous. He is a warrior monk, a warrior scholar. He combines intelligence with that meathead toughness, and that's what makes him so daunting. And that's why he stayed ahead of the curve for 2 decades, and why I think he'll still be as relevant as ever. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.